Welcome to Trucking Tributes. I'm your host for Trucking Tributes, Susan Patton. And today on Trucking Tributes, I am joined by a U.S. Navy veteran in a truck. And his name is Dan Welker. He is a professional driver with Smith Transport. Dan, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you so much.
I've heard lots about you, Dan Welker, but of course, all the listeners on Trucking Tributes have yet to hear any of this information. So we are going to start at the very beginning. What intrigued you about the big rig and why did you get into the profession?
Well, that's an interesting story. It was quite by accident. I was actually going through a change in my life, a transition. I'd taken care of my mother. She had passed away, and I worked healthcare for about 16 years and wanted a change just to get away from everything. I'd gone through a divorce. So I was like, well, I talked to a buddy. He said, "You ever thought about driving a truck?" And I said, "Well, no." And so I said, "Well, let me give it a try." And I did. And I was only supposed to be gone for a couple of years, possibly. I was like, I don't know how long I'm going to do this. Well, here I am 20 years later. And it has worked very well for me. It's the entire industry has been fantastic. I found a home in trucking, and I couldn't be happier.
What do you like about it the most, Dan? What do you think is one of the most redeeming qualities of the trucking industry that's kept you going?
It's an interaction with the drivers and working with folks day in and day out and getting the job done. That I'm very service oriented. In my previous experience, I was a manager for several different accounts in healthcare, and this has given me the opportunity to work with people once again, because I don't just drive the truck down the road. I actually get involved with the drivers and work with them day in and day out. I'm a driver mentor for Smith Transport, and I am very involved in orientation programs and everything that makes or keeps the drivers productive and earning a paycheck. So I take it a little bit more personal when I'm out here. It's not just me; it's everyone else that I'm working with.
Now, did you find Smith right away as you started your trucking career, or how did that story work out for you?
Actually, I had started with PFG Lester, worked local, decided that I was going to try over the road because it just seemed to be a little bit more lucrative. I worked for a Big G Express, worked for Star Transport, and I came to Smith Transport my third year into trucking. They welcomed me. It was a little bit less backbreaking, a little less touch freight. I was able to uh, just drive the truck, make the deliveries. It worked out very well for me. Watched the industry change over the years, but for the most part, it just seemed like a fit. Not everyone fits where they work at. And I tell drivers all the time when you come on board, hey, if it doesn't work for you, there's plenty out here to choose from. Sometimes this may not be a good fit for you, but it was for me.
That's a remarkable story. And I've got to say, I can already speak to your integrity and character to hear of the life transitions that you went through, which seemingly in a short amount of time, between losing your mom, changing career fields, a divorce, the whole nine yards. I mean, you've been through it and you've come out on top, obviously smiling and a productive guy. And that really speaks already to your integrity and character. But this driver mentorship, I mean, how many people are you dealing with? What does that all look like for you for their career?
Well, typically we have drivers that come in through our orientation program each week, and I might get a phone call from maybe three or four of them throughout the week. It could be weekends, nights. I'm available 24 hours a day, so I'm there to answer questions, assist in any way possible. I had a driver I just got off the phone with a couple minutes before we started this conversation. He was looking at his brake drums on his tractor and was concerned about some wear. He sent a few pictures to me. I looked at them and I advised him on what I thought he needed to do. I share what keeps me productive, what keeps me rolling with the drivers. I know locations. I've worked with Smith long enough to understand where most of our lanes are at, where our customers are located for the most part, to keep them, in the loop on their routing, maintenance, any questions they might have regarding their e-logs. I'll FaceTime with them. I FaceTimed the driver this morning. It's about 6 a.m. I was on FaceTiming him, looking at his e-logs and helping him out of the log. So those little things can help keep a driver moving, keep them productive. They got bills to pay. So that's my mission. It's to keep the driver rolling, keep them productive, and hopefully they'll stick with us because, hey, we've got a great mentorship And this is something that is actually a another tool they can use to maybe keep them on board with us.
Now, you touched a little bit, Dan, already on some of the profile of the Smith regarding your lanes and so forth, but tell me a little bit more about the company. How does Smith Transport operate and whereabouts in the country?
Transport's located in the Northeast. It's located in Roaring Spring, Pennsylvania. The company was founded by Barry Smith, and this has been over 45 years ago. And so it's been around for quite some time. We were purchased 3 years ago by Heartland Express. We also have sister companies, Millis, we have CFI, and we also, of course, have Heartland. And we're all together, working together as a team now. Um, and actually, it's allowing us, Heartland's allowing us to be able to build our freight base more in the Northeast. We've had a lot of folks that were originally with Smith Transport that have gone on. They've moved on. A lot of them were at retirement age at this point. They built the company, and so it's actually almost a fresher look now with Smith Transport. We were the black and chrome fleet. We still are. We service the Northeast. We have a lot of folks in the Northeast. There's a huge population up there, and so that's where the freight goes, and that's where we are. So it's definitely a plus for Heartland to have Smith Transport in their fleet, and we're proud to be with them.
Tell me, sir, about your military service in the United States Navy.
That was a long time. It was over 40 years ago. I was a kid, fresh out of high school. Well, I actually had dropped out. I was a kid, and I came home one day, and a recruiter was sitting in the living room, and mom said, "Well, you're either going to do something, with your life regarding, with the military, or you're going to be out of the house." And I, I said, "Well, let me give this a shot." Of course, when you're young, you really don't understand the gravity of what you're doing sometimes. And the recruiter explained to me that this was an opportunity for me to grow myself, to give me a little backbone and get out there and learn a skill, learn a trade. And that's the approach I took. And so back in 1984, I took the plunge. It was about, I don't know, 15, 16 days after I turned 17 years old. I was a kid. And I went out and I went through basic training and I was a machinist mate on board the Seattle, U.S.S. Seattle, big AOE. And we serviced, refueled and supplied food supplies and ammunition to a lot of ships over the years, and kept our fleet moving. So it was a great experience for me. I come from a military background, though. My dad was a retired command sergeant major. He worked under Schwarzkopf for the Gulf War, and we were, just we were army brats. We all of us were born over in Germany. We go. We've had someone in the military since the Revolutionary War. It's someone's been in every major battle or war that we've been in since then. My cousin, actually, Kevin Welker, he was a tomb guard in Arlington. So it's going to be a little interesting to get down there this year. He served as a tomb guard from 1997 until 2001. And he remembers when this gentleman used to come in with these wreaths that he had left over. He was out of Maine, and he would bring them down, and he'd put them on the tombs there in Arlington. And he said, "Danny, man, I remember that. This guy used to show up." I just talked to him last week. It was pretty comical. But yeah, the service to our country is very important. It runs deep in our family. So
That is an amazing legacy of service indeed, Dan, to share. I am speaking with Dan Welker. He's a professional driver with Smith Transport. I'm your host for Trunking Tribute, Susan Patton, and we want to thank the folks on Radio Nemo for having us on the show today as well. Of course, you can always find us on Wreaths Across America Radio. Hook us up to your Bluetooth, and we will drive down the road with you every Trucking Tuesday, and every day for that matter. If you choose to listen, we'd love to have you aboard. And it's so cool that your brother served as a tomb guard. And you remember this guy coming down from Maine? Huh? I'm going to guess that's probably our founder, Morrill Worcester.
Yes, it was. It was. It was comical because I was like, that's how he got started. And he goes, wow, man, that was a long time ago. But that's where it all began. And to have that connection was really neat. And to have a connection this year, being able to be part of the group that's going down to Arlington is going to be fantastic.
It
To be part of that convoy.
It really is. And that is, if you're just tuning into Trucking Tributes and just learning about the Wreaths Across America mission, that is precisely where it got started. Our founder, Morrill Worcester, a wreath maker from Maine, discovered that he had leftover wreaths in December. That's generally not a good time to discover that you have leftover wreaths. He reached out to our congressional delegation because he had been, as a boy, he had actually, as a paper carrier, newspaper delivery boy, won a trip from the newspaper that he was working for because he was very entrepreneurial at the time, even as a young man, and he brought on the most amount of new customers. That garnered him a trip to Washington, D.C., where he actually visited Arlington National Cemetery, and that had such an impact on him as a young man that later in life, when he was this wreath maker in Maine, leftover wreaths, he said, I wonder if we could place these veterans wreaths at Arlington. And that's what they became, our veterans wreaths. He got that permission, came into Arlington, and Arlington National Cemetery folks thought he was a little sketchy. They weren't quite sure about what this was all about. And then that photo of the veterans wreaths on the headstones just after it had lightly snowed at Arlington went viral on the internet. And in 2007 is when the Arlington Wreath Project developed from a small, quiet family event that they did as a family, all by themselves, one truck, a handful of volunteers. And then that picture went viral, and the next thing you know, a nerve was touched with American citizens. And the family decided to create the nonprofit organization Wreaths Across America. And we have been going since 2007 and have never looked back because patriotic American citizens make sure that this mission continues. And Dan Welker, we are growing. And the secret is out on Trucking Tributes that we need trucks because the mission continues to grow. And in 2025, I can tell you that we will be at 5,000 participating locations throughout the country. That is in addition to Arlington National Cemetery. So, of course, we must continue the mission to make sure that we always have every headstone covered and the columbarium and some of those items and areas within Arlington National Cemetery. But we are also honoring our military veterans laid to rest in all of these other locations, and it continues to grow. So, how did you first hear about Wreaths Across America? Was it through your brother or through truck driving?
Well, no. Well, it's actually my cousin Kevin. But
Excuse me. Thank you for that correction. Your
it's
cousin.
okay. Well, no, I found out about it. Gosh, it was been at least 10, maybe 12 years ago, and I started donating to the cause. I thought it was worthy. There's a lot of different organizations out there, and this is one that came across my radar, and I was like, well, hang on now. This looks good. I like the idea of honoring, a soldier or a sailor or a veteran for their service. And it isn't just this, these folks that were in a war. We're talking about these are just your service members, the veterans that serve every day, and when they pass on, we want to remember them in that. There's a lot that can affect the veterans. It affects your families because it isn't just going out there and doing your job every day. You've got they're away from their families, the time that always affects. I know what it was like growing up without having my dad around. And they sacrificed their being with their families and raising their families. A lot of these folks did to serve our country, and that's what we're honoring. We're honoring their service, and because it takes a part of you away, and when you're giving that, that's something that you only know what you've given, and to have folks recognize that's a huge honor. And to be able to do this, to have the wreaths there, just something that's symbolic, especially around Christmas time, very important. I've had the opportunity to see them, out there in the cemeteries, and nothing will take your breath away more than looking out and seeing, just thousands of these wreaths, and honoring these thousands and thousands of veterans. It's fantastic.
Thank you for sharing that sentiment because it is exactly what the mission stands for. Remember our fallen, honor those who serve. And we don't put it in the mission statement, but we always say it at Wreaths Across America. Honor those who serve and their families because you are so spot on, Dan Welker. When someone in the family serves, the entire family serves. And we recognize that. And we often refer to the sacrifice of our military. That sacrifice can be up to your life, obviously, but it is also, as you mentioned, that time away. Not everybody is dying in combat or dying in a mission related event, but it is the amount of time that they put on that uniform. They took the pledge, they decided that they would serve, and you're absolutely right. The family serves, and then we're teaching the next generation the value of that service and sacrifice and what it means to our nation in terms of our wholeness and safety and security here and throughout the world, in fact. So we appreciate, Dan, you for serving. The legacy of your family is exceptional. We appreciate your cousin Kevin and for his service as a tomb guard. And we have had other tomb guards as part of our Wreaths Across America family, and we just are so appreciative to them and that third regiment for serving and being there for us. Now, what is your involvement in terms of Arlington? You teased us in Trucking Tributes a little
Oh,
bit ago,
oh,
but you found out that you're going to be headed to Arlington. So, what's your information that you can share with us today?
well, right now it's limited. I know that we received a call back a couple weeks ago saying that we're going to be allowed to be in the convoy. I believe this year and next year. I think we got 2 years. Very excited about it. I got a call from Jennifer Hillgass, who's our marketing and recruiting director at Smith Transport. What a gal! She was so excited. I was at a customer, and she called me up, and I was looking around. I got all these drivers, and I couldn't get too loud, but I was very excited about that. She said that we chose you to represent Smith Transport in this, and I couldn't be more honored. Very excited about it. I had the opportunity last year to go up and experience the camaraderie uh, at the main headquarters up in Maine. Was able to load out. I did 5 cemeteries down in New Jersey last year. It was a fantastic experience. And I was excited to be able to come back. I had no idea it was going to be in this capacity. So this is a huge honor for us to be able to participate in this. We've had several drivers over the years that have done this, that wanted to do Arlington, and here I am. I'm gonna get to do it. So very excited.
Oh, I can just feel your enthusiasm and your excitement for this mission and for the job that lays ahead in December. National Wreaths Across America Day in 2025 is December 13th for those who are listening. And yes, we need trucks, and it's never too soon to get involved and to reach out to our transportation sector at Wreaths Across America to say, hey, 2025 is our year. We want to participate as members of your honor fleet. And Dan, share with that experiences what it was like to come to Maine. What was your reception like? You talk about the camaraderie, as so many of our drivers do on Trucking Tributes, but I never tire hearing it from another driver's perspective. So talk to us a little bit about that experience.
Well, the moment I pulled up, you see the big flag outside. You walk into the center, the driver's lounge area, and boy, I'll tell you what, you're met with smiles. You're met with a whole. It's busy, but I checked in, and it's like, well, I didn't know I was going to get loaded as soon as I did. It was like, well, we're going to put you on the list, and we're going to get you loaded today. And I was like, well, shoot, this will work for me. And then I got to talking to drivers, and it's really nice. It's a wonderful area to come in out of the cold because it's a little chilly up there during December.
Okay.
And we've got food, coffee, everything that you'll need. Restroom, showers. The amenities were fantastic. The folks are great. They'll take time if they can to get you out and take you down to the museum. They'll taxi you down, take you out. I was able to get to the tip forest. I was able to pick a tree in the tip forest to represent my family. I was able to put my dad's dog tag on the family tree out there, and I'm hoping to go back this year and place a few more. So it's just I didn't imagine that it was going to be like that. I thought it was just going to be, I'm going to pick up some wreaths and then I got to figure out how to get them delivered. No, it was contrary to that. It was just a wonderful experience. And any veteran that's a driver that has an opportunity to do this, do it. You got to do it.
My goodness, man, you're giving me goosebumps, and I know all about what happens. But you've sold me. I think I need to drive up there and see what's happening. But just kidding. But he's absolutely right. Dan Welker on Trucking Tributes, a professional driver with Smith Transport and a U.S. Navy veteran. He's absolutely right. For those of you unfamiliar with our Remembrance Tree program, one of our favorite programs at Wreaths Across America, where you can have a replica dog tag made. You can be taken out onto what we refer to as the tip land. That's the forest where the balsam fir trees are growing. And the process is called tipping. So we do not cut down these trees to make over 3 million veterans wreaths. These trees are tipped. The very tops of them are tipped. And then certain branches along the sides of the tree are trimmed. And it's really a pruning process for the tree, which makes the tree more robust as it grows throughout the years. And you can select one of these trees. And our founder, Morrill Worcester, jokes with you and said, now that's your tree. That's your family tree. And all we ask of you is that we can come by and tip it every 3 years to get the brush made into these veterans wreaths. And so many of our families who have actually tagged a tree on the tipland, Dan, have told us that that feels like a living memorial to their veteran in their life. And they know that the tips from those trees will be making veterans wreaths that will be honoring yet another veteran laid to rest. So it's a living memorial, and we just love doing that. And then, of course, you also mentioned the National Wreaths Across America Museum. So our Director of Transportation, Courtney George, and the team there at Wreaths Across America absolutely make sure that our first drivers who are experiencing Wreaths Across America for the first time get introduced to these concepts and these places to see in Maine, because we want you to have a full understanding of what it really means to be a member of the Honor Fleet. Now, Dan, tell these drivers listening today, what's the last thing they do to your truck once you've been loaded?
Well, they put a wreath on it. They come out front in the front of your truck and strap a wreath to it. One cool thing is if you can, go to see where they're assembled. I had an opportunity to get into the assembly area, and we also are able to make our own wreaths. I was able to bring a wreath back home and hang it on my front door this year, which is fantastic. We were able to build your own wreath, and the experience of doing that and using the actual equipment that it takes to do that was really, really wonderful. It was a great way to share that, and having that wreath on the front of my truck representing Wreaths Across America was the coup de grace. It was fantastic.
It really is. We get so excited when it's time for season, what we refer to as season. And that's anytime from, November after Thanksgiving right along when the trucks start coming from all across the country to make sure that they get loaded so that participating locations out west and so forth have their wreaths in time for National Wreaths Across America Day. But we can tell if it's one of our trucks because of the wreath that's attached to the front of your grill. And I'm headed down east, go on assignment, get down east. And I'm like, oh, there's one of our trucks. There's one of our trucks. And we get just as excited to see you all loading and knowing that you're going out to your destination, wherever that may be. What was it like connecting with the volunteers, the boots on the ground, as we refer to them, Dan, at your locations that you had to deliver to?
These folks are fantastic. They volunteer their time. They come out. They provide, first of all, I call in advance and speak with the leadership to make sure that I have the correct directions to get into the facilities. Some of these cemeteries are a little off the beaten path. They do have escorts. I was able to actually be escorted in a parade through one of the towns, which was really wonderful. If you get a chance to experience anything like that, have folks come out, they're excited, they're cheering it on. They love Wreaths Across America. All the volunteers show up. They get you unloaded quick. Each cemetery is just slightly different. You may be assisting, or they may want to do it themselves, just for safety's sake. They know what they're doing. Some of them are huge operations. Some of them were just very small, but in each one, they all had that desire to show the appreciation and honor these veterans. It's really just a wonderful outpouring of love, actually. And at one Elks Club, they even had let me stay overnight on their lot, took me in, fed me, treated me just like family. That's what it is. It's just like family.
Absolutely. You're speaking the truth, Dan Welker, on Trucking Tributes. I'm your host for Trucking Tributes, Susan Patton. We want to thank the folks at Radio Nemo for having us on as well. And we are a big extended family. We know that, and that is the story that we share with our professional drivers to know that this is just not your ordinary pickup and delivery. You are greeted with love and compassion and gratitude every step of the way from the moment you arrive in Maine. And a heads up, too, for those who are listening, I don't want to scare anybody off today on Trucking Tributes. You do not necessarily have to come all the way to the state of Maine to participate and pick up a load of veterans wreaths. We have cross docks all throughout the country, making it an easier haul for some of our trucking companies, carrier companies to get involved with us because you don't have to go all the way to Maine. And we have trucking companies that participate with railroad companies, and we have intermodal loads, and we have wreaths going by LNG tankers, and you name it. So there is a way for you to get involved. So don't think that there isn't a solution for you. If you want to participate in Wreaths Across America mission as a professional driver, reach out now to the Transportation Division at wreathsacrossamerica.org/trucking and tell Courtney, or with whomever you happen to speak, it's generally Courtney, but talk to them and say, hey, 2025 is my year. I want to haul veterans wreaths. And as Dan mentioned, your first year, you had multiple stops. And because we are growing by leaps and bounds every year because of patriotic citizens, many drivers will have multiple stops, and they all vary very much. And it does not need to be a big national cemetery. Anywhere a U.S. military veteran is laid to rest can participate. It takes a volunteer to step up to become the location coordinator, get registered with us. Of course, you ask permission of the participating cemetery, and then we get you rolling. And what we all at Wreaths Across America do as staff members, we are busy preparing and supporting our volunteers throughout the year. So we have systems in place and templates in place to make your job easier as well. Hopefully, we're making your job easier as a volunteer to get involved and to do what it is that you need to do to help honor our military veterans. Dan Welker, this has been such a pleasure speaking with you today on Trucking Tributes. What are we not talking about that you are really excited to share, you think is very important that we haven't touched on?
Gosh, well, I mean, you've covered a huge spectrum. Just to understand that, when you do this, realize that it is something that it's going to touch you. Realize that it's something that it's more than you. There's something bigger than you out there. And this is one of those things that, it's an opportunity to experience it, share it, and pass it on. And teach our younger generation exactly what it means for the importance to honor our veterans. We really need to stress that and to show that appreciation. And I think that would cover it pretty much. I mean, everything that I've been involved with as far as the program has been fantastic. So, yeah.
Well, I think it's so cool that you got a local escort into the participating cemetery, and that is a convoy in and of itself. And many of our location coordinators throughout the country arrange that for our professional drivers who are coming. And we joke on Trucking Tributes, Dan, and say, it's pretty much the only time professional drivers get excited about all the blues and the blue lights and and all that behind them and with them, because you usually get escorted in by law enforcement and Patriot Guard riders and volunteers who are standing on the street. Super, super excited to see you. Dan Welker, I cannot wait to chat with you after your annual wreath escort to Arlington National Cemetery experience, because it's going to be what you described in New Jersey on steroids. And yeah, it is an emotional roller coaster. So be prepared for the love, for the gratitude, and for the symbolism and the patriotism that you are going to experience as a member of our honor fleet on the annual wreath escort to Arlington. I am so excited for you.
Absolutely, Susan. And thank you again. Thanks for allowing me to be able to share my story today. And this is just an opportunity to do something that I love to do.
You
So,
betcha. You betcha. My honor.